Evening class, Tony here. I'm going to be doing my section of the final panel presentation for group 2, which is the just war theory. Included in that group is Devin and Gabriel as well. Okay, so briefly what we're going to discuss throughout the whole entire presentation is going to be what is the actual theory of just war. What is it, the definition of it? Some war timeline, specifically targeting good versus evil, good guys, bad guy lines, that kind of thing. We'll also talk about statistics in terms of reward versus risk, the death and life, the death toll versus the many lives that may have been saved, may have not been saved during the course of a war. The just war sequence, more specifically, the before, during, and after is the war just, more of the before sector. Justice during the time of war, guidelines, regulations that help guide your ethics and values during the war or battle. And then justice after the war, post-war stuff like war crimes, things of that nature. Rehabilitation for the countries that were defeated. So, outline continued reasons for the just war. There are 7 listed in our reading. I'll be covering the first 3. Last resort, just cause, legitimate competitive authority. The others include comparative justice, right intention, proportionality of ends, and then the 2 rules also listed in the reading, which are the proportionality of means and discrimination. So the just war theory, what is that? Just war theory, for lack of a better term, is just basically the reason or justification why you're going to conduct war. Discussion. So this is where I'm going to read you the question, and you're going to go and pause and talk about it for a little bit. What are your thoughts or opinions that make war just or okay to conduct? Okay, war timeline, good versus evil. So World War II is referred as the last good war. It really defines good guys, good guy lines, bad guy lines. It's a linear battlefield. We know the bad guys are there, the good guys are over here, that kind of thing. Supporters of the war say it's just cause for, national defense of our country, our ideals, our values. Opposers of the war, however, pacifists, speak of is it necessary for us to conduct violence because violence was acted upon us to be the solution for war. Was an anti-war movement. During the Vietnam War, so we see guerrilla warfare get magnified. The lines of good guys, bad guy lines kind of start to blur because of the type of style of warfare. It's good and evil is really not clear. Battle lines are more of a contiguous battlefield, meaning there are kind of pockets here and there, but we're not sure if for sure they're good guys or bad guys because they start dressing like the common citizen around that area to hide their true intentions or their mission objectives, if you will. And so it kind of goes against the kind of the preceding World War II, like, hey, you're good, we're bad, we know where you are, we know where you are, kind of contradictory to that general initial guideline. As we move along to the end of the 20th century, 21st century, you start to see Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, which is Afghanistan and Iraq. At that point in time, how do you know who the enemy is? How can you tell exactly what's good and evil? Ethical decisions or not? Are they blurred or are they truly defined? And that's where a lot of things tend to fall into that gray area, if you will. Okay, statistics, World War II, kind of the main reason for the war was national defense. Pearl Harbor, we got attacked on by the Japanese, and then the kind of coalition allied European campaign to prevent the spread of Adolf Hitler and his idea of the world. Losses over 60 million worldwide. It was like 2.5% of the world population at the time. During Vietnam, kind of ended that war to do the prevention of the spread of communists. It's just like the Korean War. Losses were 58,000 plus American. Desert Storm entered because Iraq invaded the country of Kuwait for several reasons, but mainly money and black gold, if you were oil. And it became coalition UN interest as well as United States interest to kind of help stabilize that area of the world with a dictator at the helm. Losses were about 147 combatants, 145 non-combatants, and 1 MIA. Operation Enduring Freedom. Obviously 9/11 occurred, so during that conflict, thus far we've lost about 4,000 plus American service members. And Operation Iraqi Freedom, told we were going to that country mainly because of weapons of mass destruction, and losses were about 2,600 coalition forces. Kind of the sequence for the theory of the concept of the just war cause. Is war just? Kind of like, what is our reason to go ahead and conduct warfare? Then you got the kind of the during part, which is justice in war, rules and guidelines for what you're doing when you're on that battlefield. And then justice after war, which is kind of the post-war stuff where you're talking about accountability for actions during the time of the war, or even before. So reasons for war, according to our reading, there are 7. The first 3 are last resort, just cause, and legitimate competent authority. Last resort is pretty much all other alternatives or options have been exhausted, that being negotiations, economic sanctions, etc. 2, just cause, just because we're going to defend our nation, our beliefs, and our values. Kind of a response to aggression and defense of our rights. A legitimate competent authority is essentially, is there a leader in place that is a legitimate representative on the behalf of the people that will make that decision to conduct that war, such as president, dictator, Congress, individuals, for us, but in other parts of the world, whoever that leader, authority, representing person would be. And lastly, I'll leave you with a discussion question. If you were making the decision for war, what would be your last resort or bottom line to conduct war? And decide, would you take a passive route or more of a proactive route? And so I'll leave that question with you guys. Tony P signing out. Thanks, enjoy the class, and I'll see you guys later.